Good day, strategy gamers, and welcome back to episode 24 of our Let's Play series, 1941 scenario as the Soviets in Gary Grigsby's War in the East 2. This is now the third playlist that gets updated every weekend. On Fridays we have our War in the West playlist. On Saturdays we have our Stalingrad to Berlin Let's Play series. And we finish up the weekend with the 1941 scenario as the Soviets, as always. In this episode, we're going to finish up turn 11, kind of starting from the Aryol pocket, where we're defending, down to the south of the map, close out the turn, and see exactly how well we've prepared our defenses against the latest Axis onslaughts. A quick little thing that I actually want to start with is, so normally in the second episode of each turn, we go through and we try to examine, where do we want our reserve and our reinforcement units to come in, and where can they be the most impactful? So some good news, bad news on that front. If we actually take a look at what we have in reserves right now, we got a whole bunch of rifle divisions that have become available in this last turn, and we have even more on the way in coming turns. The bad news part of that is none of them are at a high enough TOE to really throw into the field of battle. The highest that we get are some 70% in here. We also have these nearly 100% motorized rifle divisions, but they still are not yet ready to be deployed. And we have a plethora of new tank regiments that are starting to be commissioned, and in the future will be very, very useful to our units as we start attaching them as to support units. But what all of that really means is, for this turn, we're not going to have any reinforcements come in, and that'll be the first time since we've really kind of started the series. Because I don't want to throw in a rifle division that's at 50% TOE just for it to get torn to shreds, and I have to put them back into the reserves because they're at a 20% TOE or they're routed or what have you. So what we're going to do is just try to stick it out this turn and see if we're able to hold our lines well enough for this mass of reinforcements to come in. And I think what we'll probably do is, if we get sufficient men to these rifle divisions, quite specifically, I think we'll probably end up devoting them towards the defense here of Moscow, because this is where the next great battle will happen in this campaign. Is they're doing some breakout here towards Moscow, and we're starting to line some perimeter defenses here, but they're going to break through these, just as they did when they were down here in more heavily defended territory. So what we're going to have to do is hold out this turn, and then hopefully by the following turn, we can bring in all of those new rifle divisions. And if we're able to, we can just populate this entire swath of wooded area here, put up a good flank defense around Tula to really stop them from getting too far towards Moscow. Back to the task at hand, though, the defenses around Aryol. We kind of summed it up at the end of last episode that, we're actually feeling pretty good. We had lots of concerns for 2 or 3 turns that they'd actually just break straight through here. And they have some very concentrated units available to them here. However, when you're looking at it, they haven't really pushed through towards Aryol. They've really been using them for this breakout here, which is between Smolensk and Bryansk. So that's where they really put most of their efforts. I'm okay with what we have here. I think we'll set that Calvary Division to reserve. I think I missed that. Probably you too. Throwing an extra 3,000 men into a battle can really be helpful as they try to break these lines. So that's good. This rifle division is already on reserve. That's good. I'm feeling pretty good right around here. We're going to keep holding out in this hex because of the fortification level of 2, even though they do have the potential to, if they break through here, they might start to have a bit of an encirclement risk, but I'm going to hold. And really what I look towards then down here is, if they ever do care about pushing here towards Kursk, they have a lot of opportunity, which is why we've started to build up the defenses here and these hexes behind the line as kind of focal points for the next line of defense. But really, this is all looking pretty sound. And when we look at the battle reports from the previous turn, we see there really wasn't any action here. Right? They didn't attack at all. Actually, let's take a look here, because they attacked 3 times. They were mostly just, yeah, all scouting maneuvers, where really we didn't inflict any losses. So that's really good news up there. In the south here, though, they actually did have some success, where it took them 3 attacks, but they did finally push back the 232nd Rifle Division, which has now opened us up a little bit. So we have to look at how we're going to handle this. What I'm tempted to do, kind of tempted to pull all of these guys back, but then that, I guess I'm going to hold. But what I need to think about is how are we going to defend this down here, because we only have a 1 value for these guys and they're unready. So we might as well toss them to refit. And you know, let's set him here in this swamp hex at least. You're both on refit. Are you okay to come back into the fight? No, not yet. So we've got 3 rifle divisions here that are on refit and just aren't available to us. These 2 are on reserve. So really we do have this opening in our line that we need to consider. I would like to take these units back. Yeah, so let's do this. Let's take this rifle division. Down here. Oh, yeah, that's not any good. Gonna move back these HQ units. There's that. Bring him down here. So at least gets us to 4 here. You're on refit. Going to move you back 1. I think I'm going to take both of you. If I pull them both back, though, that's not going to be good, because they have enough to easily beat us if we do pull back without the fortifications. I might have to leave this gap in my line. Could I bring you up here? I don't know that you're going to be any better off, though. Yeah, you know, I'm going to pull him back here. Defensive value of 1 is just nothing. And let's take these 3 units back here. Yeah, okay. I really can't get encircled here, right? And like we had 20,000 men sitting here in this hex, and I can't let them get cut off, because I need those 20,000 men. So I think we're just going to retreat there. You're on refit. Here we're just at a 1, which is really alarming. You're on refit, but it looks like you're good to go. So let's get you back into the fight. Set you to ready. Move you up here. Then this hex. I'm gonna toss you there. Do I bring them back 1? Yeah, I'm gonna bring them up 1 there. 4, 4, 3, 3. Okay. Yeah. The biggest thing is just I need to make sure too that, you know, in my line, as much as possible, I avoid having ones or twos for defensive value, things that are just really easy for them to have an overwhelming odds advantage that then push us into a route and they break through without them really losing any combat prep, fatigue, or exhausting themselves at all, right? I need them to at least fight for it a little. And if I can get up to at least a defensive value of, say, a 4, then it means that, you know, even this infantry division that has an attacking value of 7, they don't even have 2-to-1 odds then, much less something that they can break through with ease, right? Even if they do something like this stack that has 12 attacking a 4, it's 3-to-1. They will probably win, but it's still going to tire their unit. Over here, these 2 units that have just been encircled, just going to move them to swamp hex here. Yeah, let's move them up. Yeah, and that cut off that hex then too. Good. Good. Okay. That's a good distance. You need to be on refit? You do. Should I even have you there if you're on refit? Maybe not. Here, do I hold this advanced line? Or do I start drawing back? I think I have to hold it, because clearly my tactic here is just defense through depth, right? By just having more depth of defense than they can try to break through. The scary parts are when we get over here and we start getting all of these units that are just... Oh yeah, my goodness. Okay. So how do we want to handle this? You know, I think I make them try to go around us or something here. But let's do this. Let's take like this mechanized division. I'm gonna bring them back here. I'm gonna set them on reserve. I'm gonna take this tank division back here. I'm gonna set them on reserve. I'm also gonna put them in the right army because my goodness, they are far away from their existing one. Let's put them in the 4th army. So that's better. 4th army is still out of range, but I can probably fix that here. Okay. You need to be on refit? You do. So maybe it's best just to have you pull back and have you start digging in here. That probably makes more sense. Do I do it in this hex or this hex? I do it here. Yeah, okay. Let's toss him to reserve as well. This guy goes to reserve because they're all in range to help here. Just gonna do this one to reserve and put you in a proper army. You can go to the 38th army's a ways away, but let's do it. Okay. So I think that kind of helps a little here. Over here we still have the same question, right? Do we want to keep holding here like this one rifle division that's at a 1? I don't know, that makes much sense. And here's what happened, right? Is actually broke through here. So let's take a look at that. So they attacked with the 294th Infantry Division. It was just too much here for our guys. But then they continued the attack. They actually had a pretty good accounting of themselves, and it looks like, for example, we had the 20th Tank Division help from reserves, which probably fought them back there. And then again, we had the same thing happen again, which then prevented their advance. So that's how useful having these kind of layered defenses with reserve units can be, right? That's really the power of them right there. But I think I'm going to set them to refit and pull them back here. Right, if I pull them even further. No, I think that's fine having them there. Thinking if I have someone I can bring up there to help them. But it doesn't look like I do. I can at least set you on reserve. You stand refit. You can go to reserve. Let's see that 5th Army that you're part of. Yeah, that's fine. Do I pull these two back? No, I think I leave them. I think I leave them right where they're at. Make them expend the movement points to go around. I have enough of a defensive layer here to fall back through, in theory at least. Yeah, I think that's all fine. That's the southwest front. Okay. Good. Good, good, good. Here, do you need to be on? You do. Probably already looked at you. Okay, now we get to some really interesting stuff here, right? My goodness, we are still holding this city because they still have not managed to cut it off, which is just astonishing. They did have a lot of progress here, though, on the southern flank by pushing through here, but not enough to actually encircle the city. So now we find ourselves with, you know, our defenses have been kind of breached, but they really don't have a breakthrough here yet. They're on refit, that's fine. So many of these guys have been on refit, but I can set you to reserves now. I'm tempted to take, like, the tank division here and move them up here to help. It's really tempting. Or even maybe right here. What if I brought them there? I'll hold that hex as long as I can. So I have 11 and 3. These guys are dangerously low on supplies for them, though. Let's look at fuel. Yeah, fuel's the same thing. So they just, look at this. They're in a horrible situation for fuel and supplies. Even ammo for some of them is really low. So that really bodes well for us. It really does. This rifle division looks like they're good to go. So maybe let's take the rifle division forward. We're going to take this HQ back. Do I bring the rifle division here, though? I think I'm going to bring it here. And then I'm going to take the tank division and move them up too. So that gives us 4. It's something here. And if they can get 1 turn of fortification level up to 1, that's going to be massive for the defense. Over here, I'm going to start looking at actually pulling off of this swamp territory a little. So I think I'm going to do the mountain rifle unit up here. So that gets me up to 4 again. Because really 10 should be enough to hold that hex for another turn or 2 even. But since they've started to break through, really I do need to start looking at the pullback options that I have here. Back here, are any of you ready to go into battle yet? You are. So let's take you right up here. That gets me up to 11. Can set them to refit too. And you know, I'm going to bring them closer to the frontier. This guy's just way away from his army. coastal army. That doesn't make any sense. Let's put you in the 26th Army. Might as well have them up here kind of helping dig foxholes and stuff. Jeez, 1,400 men. That's just great. Actually, yeah, I'm not going to put you on. I kind of want to disband you even. Should I? No. We're going to use those 1,400 men to, again, try to build some fortifications here, get them closer to their HQ, which should help with their route status. Okay, we're at 54 defensive value in the city itself. Here we have an airborne brigade that is all by its lonesome. So we need to take this Calvary Division and move them up there. And these guys are unready, but I'm going to set them up there too. We don't need the Airborne Corps HQ there though, so we can take them back, move them up. So at least gets me to 3. And these guys are actually ready. Yes, let's put you here. Okay. I'm gonna put the tank division in the city, I think. They should be able to help. I can't believe that they haven't taken the city. It really is astonishing to me. Yeah, let's see. This unit is unready. They're routed. I'm going to just set them on their HQ unit, though. I'm actually... I should have been more careful about this, but now knowing the situation I have with my reserve units, I'm going to try to be conscious about only prioritizing which units go into the refit status. Because really I do want as many of them as possible going into those rifle divisions and reserves, so then we can get them up to a full strength. And actually... yeah, I'm not going to do it now, but I think what I will do is I'll go into reserves and a number of things up there. I'm just going to turn off their refit mode to try to prioritize then the units that I want to get out into the field. Back here we have the stack of 3, which I'm assuming is where they broke through. We can take a look at that. Yeah, they were really aggressive along here. So they had 22,000 men against our 3,000 cavalry. Of course they won that. Over here they attacked 5 times. Unfortunately, we really didn't inflict heavy losses on them. We lost 1,000 men in the final attack that they had against us. Over here they attacked twice. We lost 2,700 men in that cavalry division, my goodness. But again, you got 20,000 men against 3,000. It's a possibility at that point. Nothing there. Held here, just scouting. Okay. Let's take a look up here too. So they attacked here, lost 8 armor in that attack. They did break through here, lost another 6 armor. Over here they tried to get behind the city, but they were unsuccessful. Really did a good job holding out there. And all along this line they tried to break through too. Like here they lost 9 armor, whereas we lost 18 men and 5 armor. That's fantastic. Here they attacked 3 times. That's 26 armor in this battle. Look at that. That's fantastic for us. Mostly Panzer Mark IIs, but no, they got some Panzer IIIs there too. Okay. That's something. That was the one I just looked at. Up here we managed to hold as well after 3 attacks. So again, that's all good news. I think we're probably good in this section of the front. I don't want to, good is probably the wrong term to use. I think we're done with the changes that we want to make in this section. Let's put it that way. Now, along the Dnieper here, for the most part, well, yeah, for the most part, just going to keep one unit where I can on the swamp tiles, but where I have the ability to pull back, like here, right? In this section right here, we're definitely going to pull back probably the infantry division to start fortifying in another part, right as we start to withdraw from the river. I want to make them fight for these hexes, but I also don't want to have large forces get completely surrounded. So like this guy here, I think I'm going to bring him back to start maybe fortifying in this hex even. And then here we have a similar situation where we have Calvary Divisions. So what I'm going to do is take this Rifle Division here. I'm going to bring the Rifle Division back. I'm going to bring up one of those Cavalry Divisions. Because 8 defensive value is really strong still, especially when they're crossing a river into a fortified hex and it's swamp terrain. Here we have 2 more Cavalry Divisions. So I kind of want to like take you and probably, let's just make sure actually I can make it up there. I can, okay. So we'll take this guy north. And I take the Rifle Division. You know, we'll pull them back here. Because if I can get these hexes up to fortification level 1, that really helps slow down their advance over this terrain that is just very clear terrain. I'm actually going to take this guy south once, then I have this every other pattern going on. And they have to cross the river then. That's a better layout there. I think that probably takes care of everywhere in this section that I can pull back. Here I probably can too. We have 2 Rifle Divisions. So like, can I take this Cavalry Division over and withdraw both of these guys is kind of my thought here. Yeah. It's like, let's take you down here. This Rifle Division can go here. Take that Cavalry Division up. 6 again is still quite strong. Then we'll take, I think the Mechanized Division will pull back. Yeah, where do I? I'll pull them back to this hex. The HQs now get withdrawn a little further. Okay, this unit was kind of routed, so I can use them to come back and start digging in. Yeah, okay. And then down here, I'm just going to actually start pulling back. Right, so we'll take that Rifle Division here. We'll do a bit of a staggered retreat here. Rifle Divisions we'll put in these hexes on the other side of the river. The Cavalry Division I'll use as a bit of a buffer here for us. Coastal Army HQ can obviously come back. And here we don't need to lose all of these units. So actually, I probably want to withdraw. Maybe I don't. At some point I need to try to hold something there. I think I take both of these guys back though. Then I think I take the 2 that are unready back. Yeah, just like that. Boy, it's tempting to maybe get out of these 2 spots. It's just such a good defensive value of 12 there. I'm not sure. So I could bring this guy back here. This unit could go... Yeah, he doesn't have many places to go, so you see already starting to get a little... Or no, I had already moved him, that's why his movement points are so depleted. If I move him back here, I don't think they'd be able to encircle this unit in this turn. I think I'm going to keep this guy here. I'm going to force all of these units to have to move around this guy's zone of control, I think. Is what we're going to do. This unit I'm actually going to toss to reserve, hoping that he can help out any attacks here. We might set a couple of these units to reserve too. Just like this tank division would be really useful for that, I think. There we go. Yeah. Now we just need to, as quickly as we can in these hexes, start building up the defensive values. The fortification levels specifically. Here, we might as well put you, yeah, so you're in the 19th Army, you need to be in like the 9th Army. Oh, I have this all over the place, don't I? Oh, 51st Army's nearby. Okay, so that's good. Let's pull you back there, though. Alright. Ooh, fight for the Crimea will be starting soon. We held this for so long. Really, I should be so impressed by this. This really did beat my expectations. When we look at the historical dates here, right? The breakthrough really did happen really kind of right at the historical date. This was August 29th, August 31st right now. The question is now, can we keep them from breaking through here for the next 2 weeks? That's the next question. Alright. Alright. We're having some good progress here, though. We really are. And this is really hard for them to break through here. Because, you know, the Dnieper has great terrain with swamps and the river. But here it's very concentrated to just a couple of hexes. Which is going to force them to position, say, large panzer and infantry formations to just do mass assaults. But if I can get those fortification levels up to 3 in these hexes, my goodness, that makes it tough for them to break through. Scrolling out here, I don't think there's really anything we have in the rear to address. Yeah, we're looking pretty good. Alright, so let's actually hop over to the reserves. And what we want to do is things like these rifle brigades. I'm going to turn the refit off. And then any of the rifle divisions that have, say, 5,000 men right now, I'm going to turn refit off to try to force the men to go into the rifle divisions that already have 7,000, so then I can get them up to a full stat sooner. So just go through some of these. Should really help. In theory. And then up here, well, these tank units really don't take that many in terms of men, but they take a lot of armor. So let's do this. The separate tank regiments here, going to turn those to refit off. So they start there. So I'd rather have the brigades and the battalions ready. So the tank regiments, no, your battalion. Alright, so those are all off. Down here, those are light tanks. I think we're good. This airborne unit, gonna set them to refit off. Cavalry. No, really, I'd rather have rifle divisions than the cavalry right now. We're gonna turn those off too. Oh, we have some artillery units that are actually good to go, it looks like. Just two. I think I'm gonna hold on those for now. Until I've got a good plan for them. Anti-tank. Yeah, all over here. We need these, but none of them are ready. Anti-air, same thing. Just don't have the guns, right? If you look at it, the gun icon, there's just none of the guns are yet ready to be produced. Because at this point in history, the Soviets are still moving all of their factories on the rail lines back across the other side of the Ural mountain range. So they don't really have a huge industrial base in August of 41. They've disassembled it, put it on trains, and moved it, which we're seeing reflected right now in the pace at which we're getting tanks, that we're getting howitzers, that we're getting anti-air, etc., etc. So I think with that, we're going to end turns in the turn and begin my usual routine of, well, crossing my fingers and doing the best not to say something that will jinx the outcome of anything. That's what we'll be doing next. So let's see how this goes. Had a lot of hard decisions in this last 2 episodes. Like I had mentioned last episode, we had a really good streak there of about 3 or 4 turns where we held on to objectives that I did not think we would hold on to at the end of the turn, but that it kept happening, that we kept holding on to them. Really, it was this last turn that the Axis had, where they finally, in about 3 different spots, broke through and took things that I thought they would have taken much earlier. The question now is going to be, in this movement phase that they're currently executing, are they able to capitalize on that? If they are, we're in deep trouble. If they're not, odds are still looking good for us. It's one thing to have a breakthrough. It's another if you're not able to capitalize on it. So going through the different logistic phases here. Then we'll get to their air phase. Let's see. Gotta go to 78 before you get to 75. It's just the name of the game. You see that their air army groups, they're still really trying to even move them closer to the front. They're still a ways back. Yeah, a lot of recon being run here. Not much else. Pretty high losses for them on that first 3 days, too. Losing 11 to flak, 16 to operational losses. We've run 30 sorties and we've shot down 8. It's impressive. I don't really know what they're doing recon with. It's not like behind enemy lines I have massive formations sitting and ready to counterattack. But I shouldn't be so quick to say that. You don't want the AI to know and abuse that knowledge, I suppose, So we begin right around Smolensk. Not terribly surprised by that. We'll see if they manage to break that pocket out and connect to it again. I'm betting they will. It's just I made too much of a mess of this hex right here, where we only have the defensive value of 3 now. So if they're smart, they will go there. And this was actually a conversation I've been having in the comments with some folks about the, how well the AI is doing. And I'm just going to shut up here because holy crap, they broke through and we lost 9,000 men in that attack. That was very unexpected. They didn't even break through in the weak point. Okay, yeah, so now they're filling up that hex. I wonder if they'll leave it as empty as they did in the previous turn. Probably not. Well, that'll be problematic for me to solve for. They're really trying to push behind us in this one hex right here. And they are getting darn close. I need to hold that. And I didn't. I didn't hold it. So now they can truly start to get behind Smolensk. Maybe I should have pulled out. Maybe that will end up being a huge flaw. Yeah, so now they're just hitting from all sides and we're taking really heavy losses there. So that breakout that they had is now turned into a complete pocket that they can extend the front line in. And I think I need to start pulling out of Smolensk this next turn, because I'm not going to have enough momentum to hold those hexes. And they have really put a lot of their forces into this. If you look at the color coding there, this is a lot of different HQ and armies that they've got devoted. Jumping south now here, real quick. Let's see if they can take the city. City whose name I will probably never successfully pronounce. Attacking on the north edge of the flank again, which I'm a little surprised by. But they managed to break through. 55,000 men. 55,000. Just reminds me all over again every time I see all of this of my Stalingrad to Berlin campaign. And just these emotions I have during this battle simulation are probably exactly what that poor computer is sitting there thinking. As I rush towards Riga and cut off Army Group North, it's probably the same emotions. Oh, they've now encircled the city. That has finally happened. It was bound to happen eventually, but I just hope maybe we could get another turn out of it. I don't know if they'll be able to take the city itself this turn. If they don't take it this turn, then it means they don't get any bonus victory points because we managed to hold it for as long as the historical date was. So that's something, at least. I mean, that's a positive, I think, out of all this. But now they're starting to break out towards Stalino, so we really have to think about how we reassign our forces to try to build a buffer between us and Stalino, because again, there's not some big river, there's not swamp, there's not woods, there's just clear terrain for their panzers to run across, and it's going to be really tough to slow them down. Thankfully, as we get to Stalino and we get towards Rostov, we start to get some terrain that's a little bit more defensible. Not much, but some. So that is a positive for us, I suppose. And again, to kind of reassure myself with my own words, I will say them aloud again and again and again. Our focus has been on the north. If we don't lose Moscow, if we don't lose Leningrad, we can win. So them breaking through in the south on schedule is actually a fantastic victory for us. Is the propaganda I will keep spouting. Speaking of holding Leningrad and Moscow, they're now attacking the borders of Leningrad here. They're trying to push through on that eastern flank. Hopefully we can hold that entire line. If we hold that entire line, we are looking really good. But you look at what they've got lined up there, that is a lot of mechanized and panzer units, and see, I say things like, if we can hold it, we're good, and then what happens? They break through, of course. My goodness, they just have such strength in those panzer groups. But them pushing back in only one hex probably is not the worst outcome there. I mean, they could have done a lot more damage than that. The turn's not over, though, so I should shut up. In the south here, let's see how they try to break out of that Dnieper River pocket. I was going to say I can't believe that unit would hold, and then it didn't, so that makes sense. So I'm glad I kept that rifle division there. Did they end up getting routed? Yes. But did they get encircled? No. So at the very least, I forced that battle, forced the loss of movement points by the zone of control. I was exerting all of those different things, and he didn't get encircled, and that's the key. It really is the key. Ooh, yeah, that's a little scary. If they push through this turn through that line, that's scary. I didn't think they'd push quite that far in this one turn. So really hoping we can hold out there. Kind of reestablish a front line. Let's just end the turn now. They've done lots of damage. End the turn now and I'm happy. I'm happy if we end the turn now. They're already at 33% too. Which seems high considering what they've done. I'm looking at the little AI turn milestones in that message box. Interesting. Okay. So we're pushing through there, push back our mountain division north of Zephyr's. So they're not probably going to encircle this turn, but they're starting to put pressure on that city now. And that historically fell later than its sister city to the north, so hopefully we can still get a couple of turns worth of defense out of that city. Ooh, they're still pushing this breakout towards Stalino. Gotta keep holding on there, guys. Keep holding. This is north, right at the top of the map there. Managed to hold against the attack. They went a second time, though, and they routed us. We lost 8,000 men? Are you kidding me? How the heck did that happen? That's awful. Just awful. So that was one of the strongest points in the line that we had in our defense of Kharkov at the moment, and they just brushed right through it, and we have 8,000 fewer men defending Kharkov now. Remember when I said I'd be very happy if the turn ended when we were down there by the Crimea? I really wish the turn would have ended. But we'll see where this goes. I should probably change the order of these episodes throughout the weekend. I should do like Stalingrad to Berlin on Sunday, so that way we end the weekend with this high note of onwards to victory, Berlin by 44, and all of this stuff. Instead of, my goodness, we're getting our butts kicked on every single battle. Recording these episodes too, I really always do miss the opportunity to attack something. It's quite the mental state you have to put yourself in, just sitting here going, okay, what are the 73 different ways I can try to use units to defend? How is that unit holding out still? That is incredible. I shouldn't say things. You guys know this. Why don't you tell me this? Just be quiet, let the AI do their thing. When I jinx it, stuff like that happens. Yeah, so they're really in and around Kharkov having a little bit more activity than they had in previous turns here. But we have a lot of layers in our defense, so I mean, we're not to some type of dire situation yet. But they can end their turn anytime they would like. Oh, still going. sure where they're moving right now, but haven't attacked anything for a few seconds. Maybe they're done. I shouldn't say that, but maybe they're done. They've had a lot of success this turn, but there hasn't been anything disastrous as of yet, which I'm thankful for. Smolensk has me worried still, because that's the path to Moscow, and I need to hold Moscow. But other than that, all this stuff in the south, I'm really not too worried about. I mean, historically, the Crimea in Sevastopol was just terribly difficult for the Axis, so I'm hoping that we can have some similar luck there. Let's see what happens next. Did it freeze on me? Maybe. Yeah, they must be done. Can't believe, too, that the date is September 7th already in this game. I feel like we are getting so close to winter. I also can't believe that in the real world it is already past September 7th. That's a entirely different topic, though. Where are they going? I can hear them, just don't see them. Back to my comments when we were up and around Smolensk, by the way. Been having some conversations in the comments section on some of these videos about the AI and some of the mistakes they're making in their attacks and stuff like that. And I completely understand those comments. I really do. And I agree with a lot of them, right? It does seem like we have a lot of, okay, they're throwing just one brigade against an entire defensive stack that they know they shouldn't have any chance of winning against, but they keep doing it. Like this one right here that they just scouted. It was pretty much 1-to-1 odds. There wasn't much reason for them to have done that attack. And the two things that I came up with, I think kind of in the defense of the AI is, you know, Fog of War is enabled for both of us, and while we're looking at the map right here, we get to see probably more intelligence than they get to see, right? This may not be representative of all of the intel that they have as the computer. Yes, the computer will always know the value of everything, but they can be trained to not take that into account when the AI is making its decisions, right? That's the sign of a really good AI. I think the second thing is that if we did find ourselves in a game at this level of strategic command of divisions and brigades and all that across such a vast front as the Eastern Theater, if the AI truly was just so perfect, I think it would come across as very mechanical, and we would just come to despise it and hate it if it was just always doing these breakout attacks that were so incredibly perfect for the situation, but for one reason or another never could have happened real life in the historical context of the theater because of politics or just generally how militaries operated, right? I think that sometimes the development of the AI has to give some liberties to let it make mistakes and let it to not choose the perfect action all of the time. Because otherwise you just end up with something that just doesn't feel real, I think. A lot of those attacks, right, here's a really good example. When you look back at the histories, in most modern wars, right? You don't find yourself in situations where military commanders only attacked where they knew they had an overwhelming victory. Right? That's just not how wars have happened. Because they don't know if they will have that overwhelming victory. They don't know if they'll be able to break through or not. They're sitting there going, I have 10,000 men. We think they have 10,000 men. Every one of my men is worth 5 of theirs, so I'm going to attack. Right? That's what it was actually like. So I think when it's sometimes at this strategic level simplified to us in these numbers of combat value of 5, their combat value of 6, why the heck did they attack with 1-to-1 odds, right? I think it's just, again, the AI trying to represent a little bit of what it might have been like. And maybe that's just too optimistic and rose-tinted glasses of me, but it's the role-playing perspective that in my mind I put on all of this. I know this AI has flaws, but I'd like to think that some of it is attributed to that. Anyways, there's my little speech on that. I really tried to keep going with it in the momentum I had so I could try to not panic about what was happening around Smolensk there, because oh my gosh, I'm sweating right now. So I appreciate you guys letting me lecture it and then thus distracting myself from the events unfolding in front of me. Here they're attacking south of Lake Ilmen, which we haven't seen any activity on in the turn since, so looks like just some probing attacks. Really, them advancing in these areas I don't have any concerns about, because that terrain is just so awful. I can go back 2 hexes in any place and automatically have defensive values of 5 to 10 to 15 just because of the terrain, so I'm not too worried about it. As well as the fact that the further they advance down here, the worse their supply situation gets, because there's no rail lines in this entire part of the map right here. This was actually probably, I'd say, in our Stalingrad to Berlin Let's Play series, this kind of section south of Lake Ilmen was probably one of the most difficult sections of the front that I ended up having to deal with, I think. Especially earlier on in this scenario. Here they routed our rifle division by Leningrad, so that's not so great, but I'll say that wasn't necessarily a terribly critical hex to defend. We were eventually going to lose it. Where are they attacking now, or where are they realigning their forces to? I'm hoping they're done with Leningrad. I'm hoping we don't see any other attacks in Leningrad. Let's just end the turn, guys. Like, just ceasefire, please. Surely you've run out of fuel by now, right? So let's just end the turn. They're doing quite a bit of movement, though. Yep, here we go. We're just about done. Alright. We'll skip past some of these. So, in the end, they did not cut off Smolensk. They did reestablish contact with their pocket, which just means we're going to have a lot of tough decisions to make with Smolensk. They didn't make any advances towards Aryol. They had only one measurable victory up near Leningrad. They advanced a little further than I would have liked towards the Crimea, and they finally cut off one of the strategic cities in the south, but they still haven't even taken it. So overall, considering what we were facing in that turn, I'm very happy with all of that. Very happy with how all of that went. Alright, going through our logistics phase here. And let's see what that end of turn summary says for us. So we lost 100,000 men, which is higher than past couple of turns, because we had some pretty heavy defeats in this turn. 1,500 guns, 300 armor, 250 airframes. On the map, we had a net loss of 100,000 men, but so did the Axis, so that stays kind of equal there. Guns, we lost 1,600, they lost 500. We lost 200 armor, they gained 37, so that's not a good sign. We lost 260 airframes, they gained 100. So again, not the trend we want to see. Units under strength is still really high at 63, and unready at 113 is just something we've been dealing with all series. Looking at new events, Soviet partisans, and then the USS Greer was the first U.S. Navy ship fired upon by a U-boat in the war, which really kind of raised tensions. Because at this point, right, September 1941, the United States isn't in the war as a participant as of yet, so, all right. Well, as always, guys, thank you for your support of the channel, this video series, and Gary Grigsby's games like this. If you got any questions or comments, please toss them in the comments section below. And as always, strategy gamers, hoping you have yourselves an excellent day. Bye now.